Hello class, Dave Donahue here, Savannah, Georgia. Uh, Welcome to I guess one of the last assignments here, the discussion about our local flight at KJAX with our CFI and his family who came in to see what their son does. And this should be a pretty fun flight. So with little knowledge as to their flying experience and what they're comfortable with, I'm going to kind of work from that basis. Let me just jump right into it here. There'd be several things I take in consideration for this. One of the least important being that it's one of my last flights. I say this, it's one of my last flights before my check ride. And what I've come to realize after doing a couple of these check rides is that sometimes going back to basics right before the check ride can be a really helpful thing to do. So um, for this particular flight, I would really just plan on, I think, things that didn't put a lot of load on the airplane and therefore make them really feel it in their seat, and something that would be not only fun for them to see what their son does for a living, but also something that would be agreeable to the eyes, when they go out and have a good time. So if you look on your for-flight maps, what I would do is I would depart the area, especially with the weather moving to the northwest and lightning being distant to the northwest. I'd plan a flight to what would most likely be a south practice area over the St. Johns River, and we could have a lot of fun taking a look at that. I think specifically I would revisit some turns around the point. Um, I think passengers would like that, find something cool to look at, and the CFI and I know that we're going to be doing a turn around the point and practice that. And then slow flight. I say and then slow flight or turns around the point and slow flight. In the slow flight, I think slow flight with climbs and descents, descending turns, climbing turns, all those things that are just really good. That along with the turns around the point, I think would just be really good elementary things to go back to and revisit to give us the feel of that airplane and make smooth adjustments, anytime. And, at that point too, you could even get under the foggles by all means and do, peg hit an altitude on a heading while maintaining this airspeed and climb to it at this rate. So those would all be great revisiting things, even just 2 flights before the check ride. And then number two, before we even got taken off there, being that it's so hot and that sort of thing, I don't want them folks out there. It's kind of like I do with my own kids and wife whenever we go to fly. I don't have them out there while I'm doing the pre-flight on the airplane. They can totally see through the window and stuff that we're doing it, and I know that there is that consideration to think about, that we want our passengers to see us do a pre-flight. By all means, once we get back out there, we could do that walk around. But I would explain to them that I'm going to do the pre-flight and get fuel and all the hot stuff while we're sitting out there on this ramp, and then they can come out whenever I'm done with that. That way they can enjoy the FBO and talk with their son. I'm pretty sure at this point, as almost a commercially rated pilot, that the CFI would probably trust me completely to at least I would hope to do a thorough pre-flight. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would plan for an altitude based upon the scattered layer that we were seeing. How anyone who goes, excuse me, my phone's going off. Sorry. That's one thing I didn't pre-flight that, did I? Let me turn it off. Anyone who goes and flies, especially if there's a few clouds up there, want to be somewhat near. Now, obviously, we want to stay legal, so I think I would have kind of a planned block altitude, if you will, of 3,700 to 5,200, and that way we can pop up through some holes and stuff like that are in the clouds, and folks can get that at least my kids and my wife really like doing that. So, and all while staying perfectly legal. If the clouds truly are at about 4,200, 4,000, 4,200, something like that, 3,700, 500 foot below, 1,000 foot above, we could totally do that and still have a great time. So then finally, I would monitor the CFI and I both would be very closely monitoring the weather and making sure that flow, nothing new is popping up. And if something new was popping up, is it going to avoid us, or do we need to beat it back to the airport? All while, looking at we're no more than we're no more than 20 to 30 nautical miles away from the airfield. So if need be, if something did pop up off the coast, since it's all kind of flowing from the southeast to the northwest, we could probably just beat it on back. And of course, I would have an alternate in case we couldn't do that. So considerations for the PAVE checklist. On a hot day like that, I would be well hydrated. I would advise the CFI as to remind his family to stay well hydrated. I would make sure that I rest, and I kind of have these three things: hydrate, especially in the summer in Georgia. Hydrate, rest, and unwind. And that's how I like to enter into a flight personally as the pilot. As far as the aircraft goes, it's an aircraft I'm very familiar with. It is it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm because of the heat and the what could be a high DA, as well as the weight. So I'm going to anticipate longer takeoff roll, and but next to that, make sure I do my weight and balance. I'd probably take off with about 25 gallons of fuel, and that should account for an hour. I'd plan on being in the air an hour, and 25 gallons ought to give me VFR fuel reserves that I need. So yeah, the environment's hot and convective. I might, in that good passenger briefing that I'm going to be given, I'd probably advise them that, it might get a little bumpy underneath the layer, but once we get up above it, up above some of the clouds, it ought to be a little bit better. And then as far as external pressures go, no real external pressures here that other than safety. When I take my own kids and my own wife flying, I guess there is a bit of an external pressure, more so than whenever I'm by myself. And so, but I can manage that. I've subjected myself to that enough that you just kind of learn to unwind, do things as normal, and make everything smooth too. So safety and smoothness would really be my external pressures weighing in on me, and that's what I would hope to accomplish. My references for this presentation really all find themselves in the Risk Management Handbook, as well as I really like this article that I'd read, and I brought some of the knowledge from it to this an AOPA article called The 12 Tips to Help You Fly Like the Pros. That was a great article. If you guys get the opportunity, go read that. It's just got a lot of good notes in it. And then I really drew from all my experience up to this point flying passengers as well. This is a passenger-pleasing flight, all the way from the altitudes that I selected to the maneuvers that I would be conducting to where I go in order to give them a pleasing sight and that sort of thing, all while covering down on some areas that are good areas to revisit right before check ride. Thank you guys for your attention. I look forward to seeing your all's presentations. Take care.